Hello, it's James from Cool Smartphone here, and this week we have the BlackBerry Passport, which, as you can see, is a rather peculiar looking device. But I've spent about a week with it now and really getting to like it. There's quite a few plus points about it, quite a few negative points, but they're all mainly about the OS. BlackBerry 10, its latest iteration, is quite nice, quite flexible. The main thing is it allows you to install Android apps, but we'll get to that in the review, and I'll show you a brief sort of glimpse of that world in a minute. So what have we got? This is the BlackBerry Passport. I'll just zoom out a little bit so you can pick it up. Basically what you have a QWERTY keyboard along the bottom. You get three rows of buttons. There's no secondary functions, there's no alternative uses like you would have got in previous years on Blackberries, but that's all dealt with in software now, which I'll show you shortly. It has the same metal strips in between each row of keys like the Q10 had. That was a year or so ago, but it gives the keys a defined sort of space. It gives them the whole thing a strength, which is also the metal sides also give it strength too. So I'll quickly show you around the device. On the bottom you have speakers. There's two speakers in these slots here and here. Micro USB, as you'd expect, for charging. The sides are metal. Feel really good. The screen, which you may be able to see, is slightly curved at the edge. It gives it a really sort of tactile, don't know whether that's the word, but a really nice feel to when you swipe in from the edges, which is good because there's a lot of swiping being done in BB10. This side of the device has absolutely no buttons at all. Just a big long strip of nice metal. This side, again, same strip, but it has the buttons. Not buttons as you'd think they are. The top and bottom one are volume up and down. The middle one is an audio control key or a voice assistant button. It would have been nice if the power button was in the middle or the bottom, but that's just how modern day BB10 devices are, so you just have to deal with that. Power button is actually on the top, interestingly, which it's quite a big device, so when you pull it out of your pocket, you it's like really reaching for the top. Luckily you can press the U button, U for unlock, and it wakes, which is nice. You can also, when you pull it out of your pocket, just swipe it up and it will do a total unlock. So you can either press U and then swipe up, or you can just swipe up. Honest. So yeah, I should show you the nice animation for the unlock. Pick a wallpaper and the icons on the wallpaper sort of get this this glow to them, which is peculiar but nice. It's a nice animation as you unlock it, and I find myself sort of unlocking it just to watch the animation, really, which is a bit sad, but hey. Also on the top you have the 3.5mm headphone socket, and then that little recess there is to pull. It's quite tough. Is to pull the back strip off, and in there, just checking. The IMEI's not in there. In there we have, go on focus, we have a nano SIM and a micro SD slot. So you can bolster the internal memory or put media on it, that sort of thing, with your micro SD card. And being nano SIM as well is quite modern. All my devices now are nano SIM. Right hand side is absolutely nothing apart from the inner workings of the headphone socket there. So I'll just put that back on. First time I pulled that off, it went flying, and I nearly trod on it. So, and the other time I actually tried to pull it off with the speaker holes at the bottom. So, pays to read the instructions when you get a device in the post. So that's the design of the thing. The back of it is non-removable, just bears the BlackBerry branding. You have your rear-facing camera on the back, and a flash, and another strip of metal, which sort of again will add to the strength of the device. It does feel really solid, really solid. The metal frame will help with that, no doubt, but it's quite heavy as well. It's 196 grams, but everybody I've handed it to, once they've got over the weird looking keyboard, they've sort of just gone, whoa, it's actually really quite heavy, I don't think I can use that. So onto the spec of the thing. It's 4G, which is nice. I'm currently using on EE, which is really quick. As I say, 196 grams. Nano SIM. The keyboard is, I don't know how you could say this. Yeah, I'll deal with that in a minute. But the keyboard acts like a bit of a trackpad, but I'll show you that in the messaging app shortly, or in a web browser or something. So the display, it's a 4.5-inch display, 1440 pixels square, so 1440 that way, 1440 that way. Gives it a PPI of 453, 10-point multi-touch, it's Gorilla Glass 3. Saying that, it's already got a couple of scratches on it from previous owners, so it's a shame. It's running BlackBerry 10.3.1, which is the latest version, which gives it sort of optimizations for running Android apps and things like that. It's been able to do Android apps for a while now, but there's tweaks that allow Android apps to sort of optimize themselves to run in the Square environment, but again, I'll show you those shortly. It's a Qualcomm processor, so nothing untoward. The odds are, because it's a Snapdragon 801, you're not going to have any chip compatibility problems with games or apps and things like that. It's a quad-core processor, the 801 is, so you've got 4 cores running at 2.2 gigahertz. Internal memory is 32 gigabytes. You get 3 gigabytes of RAM. So it's a well-spec'd piece of kit. The camera on the back is 13 megapixels, which the few sort of test shots I've done so far have been really good. It's got HDR built in, so it will, when you take a picture that has high contrast in it, it will basically say to you, this would look better if you used high contrast or HDR mode. So which is nice. You end up basically taking 2 of everything because you forget, and so yeah, the camera's pretty good. It's got Wi-Fi AC, so it supports the slightly faster 5 gigahertz networks. GPS, Bluetooth, all that gubbins as you would expect. It's Bluetooth 4.0, so it's sort of the low energy Bluetooth if you want to connect stuff to it. What else have we got that's worth a mention? Battery is 3,450 milliamp hour. It's non-removable, and so far I found the battery to be really quite good, getting sort of easily a full day out of it under sort of normal use. So software wise, I'm just going to I'll put it down and then zoom in so you can see what I'm on about. Right, okay. So as I said earlier, it's unlocked with a swipe up. You then have this screen here, which is where apps sort of sit dormant almost. So if we run the clock app and then you swipe up to get out of it, that's the equivalent of pressing the home button. So we then run a time train app. So you swipe up and you get out of it. They then get dumped here, which is like the multitasking view in other OSs, but they're sort of, some apps, if they're native BlackBerry apps, then become more like widgets. You see how the clock has turned itself into a smaller version of itself, whereas the train time app hasn't, because that is actually a ported Android app that's on the BlackBerry store. So it's all a bit higgledy-piggledy, but there's another one that does it quite nicely. I just need to find where I've put it. It's the file manager. So we're in the file manager, you minimize it, and then it just changed, and then you basically get quick view of what storage is left on the device, what storage is left on your cloud, and what storage is left on your media card if you have one built in. So you can have sort of 6 of these things. Messaging doesn't work, I don't know why I showed you that. So let's get a load of these up. What else shall we have? The gallery. So we've got 6 of them. Let's try a 7th. Yeah, once you get over 6, it starts shrinking them down. So here we've got 7 apps minimized in there, and you can close them off and things like that. So so that's what that blank pane at the beginning is. You then have an app drawer where, well, I say it's an app drawer, it's just a continuous sea of icons that heads off that way, as long as, depending on how many apps you've got installed. But you can then make folders much the same way you can in every other mobile big name mobile OS. So you create these folders and so on and so forth, and that all works as you'd imagine. You get the BlackBerry App Store, which is called BlackBerry World. Left some dirt on the screen, and this is probably a prime example to show you what happens with the keyboard. If you swipe up on the keyboard, it actually acts like a trackpad, so you can swipe up and down, which is quite nice. There's obviously some sort of capacitive sensor beneath the display. If you're in a Word document that has a cursor, you can swipe along the keyboard and it will take you up and along the row as well. So this will hit and miss. It depends where the actual cursor is at that time. If you're in a text field, like that's what happened here, it's now in the search box, it doesn't work. So you can go up and down. BlackBerry World is an interesting app store because a lot of the apps are actually Android apps that have been ported by the developers and then pushed onto the BlackBerry World store, and you end up in a situation where some of them basically run in this sort of BlackBerry sandbox almost, and they have access to some elements of the OS and some hardware things, and it's depending on what they're trying to do with their app. So you'll find some games just don't work properly, or they need back buttons, and there is a software emulated back button. This is WordPress, this is what we run our site on. So again, it's an Android app. I got this off the Amazon App Store, which I'll show you in a minute, but it's an Android app, and so it's got access to the hardware keyboard, which is good, so the trackpad thing works. But then here you have a back button, which takes you back out. So some apps need certain hardware buttons to work, and sometimes you'll find in the BlackBerry store that the app has been badly ported and not checked properly on a BlackBerry device and just doesn't work properly. But then you get some native BlackBerry apps which work really well and are a joy to use, but finding them is a bit fiddly. The BlackBerry World App Store is sort of split. There is as you can see here, it says, I'll show you, top grossing built for BlackBerry apps and games. So they've realized this, and they've had to categorize the real BlackBerry stuff and the Android stuff, so that people can make their mind up whether they want a ported app or not. To open it up, to get more stuff onto the platform though, interestingly, they pre-installed the Amazon App Store, which we've seen on Android before. It comes on the Kindles, on the Kindle Fires, the Kindle Fire Phone, that sort of thing. And it has a lot of apps on it. This is, let's run the Amazon App Store. It's linked to your Amazon account, so any apps you've installed on your Android device will be present in the My Apps section. So you've got the cloud one, which is all the free games and stuff that you may have installed over the years in the past on Android. They're all there, and device and updates. So it's nice having it, but this basically gives you another way of getting apps onto it. But in this situation, they're even less likely to be properly ported across, because these have been put on the App Store, or the Amazon App Store, with the main intention of just being installed on Android devices. So never in a month of Sundays have the developer of 8-Ball Pool that's there, never in a month of Sundays did they think their game was going to end up being installed on a square 1440 pixel device. So it is a little hit and miss, but it's better than it was when I had the Z10 and the Q10 and the Q5. Things were pretty bad, and you'd end up finding apps that just didn't work. But like Feedly, this is installed from the Amazon App Store, and it works perfectly. You can hide the bottom bar so you can get full screen, and it works absolutely perfectly. It lets me access all my news feeds, and if anything, it shows me more news on one display than when I read something on an Android device. So there are some apps out there that just so happen to work really quite well, and they make it a joy to use. The only slight issues with the whole messaging thing is that it becomes a bit of a this is the BlackBerry Hub, where you basically add all your different messaging apps into it, and your phone calls go into it, and BBM goes into it, and your different emails go into it, and so on and so forth. And the more you add to it, the harder it gets to pin down or work out what's happening, because you can end up with hundreds of unread things. So you can split them into different categories in the Hub, or just deal with them independently in the Hub. But I find the BlackBerry Hub is powerful, but the way it harvests all of your different messaging apps at times gets annoying. Like if you install the Twitter app, you then get notifications from the Twitter app, and you get notifications from the BlackBerry Hub that you've got a mention. So you then have to deal with it in the Twitter app to reply, and then you have to mark them as read in the BlackBerry Hub. So it takes a little bit of work. It's certainly a powerful tool, and if you get a lot of emails and you're typing a lot, then it's a handy tool. But BlackBerry Hub does take a bit of work. So the device overall, I'm liking it. It's quick, it's fluid, there's absolutely no bugs with it. It all just works. There's, as I said, the the Amazon App Store and the BlackBerry World Store combined give it this sort of wealth of apps you can install stuff from, and now and again you may have an issue, but in the main I've not had any problems, and everything's just sort of worked. And whether that's a coincidence or whether that's developers just making things better, I don't know, but it hasn't been as bad as when I used the Q5 or the Q10 ages ago. The size of it does make it a two-handed device. Texting one-handed is a little bit fiddly. You really struggle to reach to the far side of the keyboard. You press and hold the buttons to get capitals, and then let me just load up a text message. Let me just load a blank one up so I don't violate anybody's privacy. So this is the messaging app. So if we click in here to click to compose. Right, so if I start typing hello, you can see that's appeared. You get this extra bar appears at the bottom of the screen with predictions, so it thinks I might have meant hellos, or yellow, but we'll let that off. But basically, if you went, oh yeah, I actually meant yellow, it'll change it, much like SwiftKey does, and it gives you predictions. I don't know what yellow on back to you means. But it gives you predictions in much the way that SwiftKey or some of the other Android keyboards do. But you get this bar beneath to give you sort of punctuation marks, which is nice. I think I preferred it when they were built onto the keys, where you'd press another button and like an alternative button, then you press the button. But it kind of works. This is showing you the cursor moving up and down with the capacitive pad, so that's quite nice. Saves you having to struggle to tap in like with Android, where you like, I don't want to delete the U, and then it just doesn't work. So yeah, these buttons here allow you punctuation, and you press the one on the end and you get a huge bar with all the different characters in, and it's nice. That drops it down. So you get emojis, attachments, you press the file button to send it, the settings and stuff, but it's a nice messaging app. The keyboard works well, it's a pleasure to type on, and yeah, hardware wise there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. The camera is great, the display is great, the specs great. The only things that may let it down, possibly the price. $499.99 this thing BlackBerry want on their website. I've seen them second hand for sort of just over £300 on various sort of second hand phone websites. But for £499 you could get yourself a hell of a lot of phone, and yeah, I don't think I would spend that kind of money on one of these. The compromises with the Android side of things would be a little bit annoying if I bought one myself. But if you, as I say, if you use a BlackBerry for work and you're going to be sending an awful lot of messages and you want something a lot smarter and a lot more modern than some of the older ones, then this could be ideal. You'd be able to do all your social media, you'd be able to do multimedia, you'd be able to do emails, messaging, phone calls. The phone clarity is really good. The camera on the back's good, and it's expandable with the micro SD slot. So it would be an ideal device if you sort of using this as a main sort of tool for your business. But yeah, it's just not for me. So yeah, that's been the BlackBerry Passport. This video will accompany the full review on coolsmartphone.com in the next couple of weeks, and yeah, so keep your eyes peeled for that. So if you like the video, please do give us a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, feel free to give us a thumbs down, but please let us know why you didn't like it. I don't like BlackBerry, or I just don't like you guys. Whichever you want. But feedback's good. We'd like a little bit of constructive criticism here and there. And yeah, feel free to subscribe, because we have loads of videos coming up in the next few weeks, months, years, and so on and so forth. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.